Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bo Talks Media. Today, I'm joined by Caleb Seadog Bravo to discuss The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 following the announcement of its delay. We're just going to be doing a general discussion, talking about the game, everything we know, what we learned from this delay update from AJ Aonuma, and just kind of how we're feeling about the game's development and about the game in general. So, Caleb, how do you feel currently, now that we know this game is not releasing in 2022?
I feel like AJ Aonuma might need a new haircut before it comes out.
Dude, this man has drip now. This man has straight drip. He cleaned up.
Yeah, usually he has like the little messy hair.
Yeah, this guy. He's iconic for having like messy hair. Now he looks like a suit. Literally, he's wearing a suit.
He's
I don't know what he normally does in these, but yeah. But yeah, how do you feel about the delay? I mean, I think we did a video talking together.
I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, we did. I don't know if you were on that video with me, but I did a video talking about like predictions for all of Nintendo Switch's upcoming games this year, kind of piecing out the lineup, what I think will be announced and released this year, because obviously there's going to be more games this holiday that we don't know about. Listen, there's a lot of games already coming out this year. We don't really need Zelda this year. However, bro, this game's been in development for 6 years almost. So I was just kind of expecting it to come out based on that solely, because everybody keeps saying like, oh, Zelda games always get delayed, and technically, this is the first delay for Breath of the Wild 2, because this is the first time we had to get a release window. This game absolutely got delayed internally before it had a date.
Oh, 100%.
It was announced in 2019 at E3. I think I was a little bit bold in my initial prediction, like way back then, like 4 years ago, saying like, oh, I think it could even be planned for like 2020 or 2021. I think it was probably planned for 2021, though. I think that's what they were aiming for, and their scope for the game definitely expanded. And I will say it is funny. I've seen a couple jokes on Twitter. the delay timing is pretty funny. My man Aonuma played Elden Ring and was like, crap. Literally.
Let's just wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I can just imagine like the random like code people at Nintendo working on the game. They're like working on the physics or something. They take the weekend off. They come back from their weekend off of playing Elden Ring. And they're just like, can we have a meeting, guys? This is like absolutely devastated. Obviously, I'm joking. They know what they're doing with Zelda. But, and this is something I didn't mention in my video, kind of random, but I'm pulling up my calendar right here. I'm pretty sure I saw this is accurate. It is. Caleb. Yeah. March 3rd, 2023 is a Friday. This game is absolutely coming out on March 3rd, 2023. There is no way it doesn't. Which is technically before spring.
Well, usually when people say spring, they mean March through like
May,
June, or March through May or whatever. Yeah. Because a lot of times
June is like a summer month, even though it isn't.
I mean, like a lot of times some companies will say winter 2020 or whatever, and it comes out in like November or December. Yeah, those aren't even winter months.
Yeah, holiday is a better term for that. But yeah, the game was delayed officially. Aonuma released a tidy little video. We did get a little bit of new footage in this, so I guess we can talk about that real quick. Let me skip ahead here so I can look at it. We also got like a little bit of hints of like what they're aiming for here through the wording. The adventure in this sequel will take place not just on the ground as in the previous game, but also the sky. Let's skip ahead here. Skies above. So, okay, let's talk about the sky stuff. Obviously, this isn't new. We saw this in the E3 trailer last year. I don't think I was... How should I phrase this? With this game reusing assets, for one, obviously, I thought it was going to come out way sooner. It's now been in development longer than Breath of the Wild 1, so kind of weird. When they showed the sky stuff, I was like, oh, there's going to be fun little sections where you can go to the sky. Maybe not little sections, but, decently sized sections. With them focusing on it in this trailer like this and how it expands the world, I kind of, now with how long it's been in development, I'm kind of expecting it should be the whole world at this point, right?
Yeah, so what I was thinking was, originally, when they first, like, revealed the game, when they first revealed the sky sections, I guess.
Yeah.
I originally thought it was just going to be, like, the regular Breath of the Wild map with, like, new towns and, like, new settlements or, like, new enemy bases and stuff like that. But generally the same thing. And then, like... was like a few sky sections here and there. Now it seems like there's basically going to be two maps in the game. One on the ground and one in the sky.
Yeah. Well, and going back to Aonuma's wording in this update video, he says, the adventure in this sequel will take place not just on the ground as in the previous game, but also in the skies above. And then he says, however, the expanded world goes beyond that. So I'm thinking maybe there's a whole other layer that we haven't really thought about, maybe since the E3 2019 trailer, where maybe there's a lot of underground stuff also. That'd be cool.
Yeah, because it was in the trailer, right? They were exploring like a cave
it was
or
Link and
something.
Zelda exploring that tomb. It was obviously a cutscene, but could still be pretty, hinting at.
There was also, I think there was like some concept art or something for the original game, and there was like a concept model made in one of the like the ancient tech labs of like an underwater divine beast. So thinking maybe they can do like some underwater stuff.
That would, yeah, for sure. I also, I was talking to one of my friends, and we were just kind of, shooting out ideas. One of the prominent, known, like, early development ideas for this game was aliens and, like, space tech.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen here, but that'd be really cool if they brought that idea back. I mean, you're already going up to the sky. What's space, Might as well go a little bit further.
Now, here's something I think we were thinking this, and to be honest, I was thinking this back before the game was even announced. Okay. Really, I was thinking this back when the first game came out, because when the first game came out, yeah. So there's well, not that, but there's a part of the game where like there's this giant. This is just on the game art, and it's also like in the game. There's like this image of like a scroll or something, and it has the original ancient hero from like 2,000 years ago or whatever, and he's fighting Ganon with all the divine beasts and the machines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is Link.
Absolutely.
In the photo.
Absolutely.
So we're thinking basically what happens is Link from the first game just goes back in time to become that guy.
Well, is there anything discrediting the possibility that this is actually a prequel?
The fact that they called it a sequel.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that necessarily. It could just be a straight prequel. Probably not. I'm sure people have done comparisons with the map that we've seen in the trailers where like you can see like, oh, this is a worn down settlement that was exactly the same in Breath of the Wild 1, so that it can't be the case. That could be, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a prequel. Especially since Aonuma said, and this is probably more relating to a gameplay mechanic, that they're not revealing the name of the game because they don't want to spoil it. Because it's going to spoil something so integral to the game that it would do that. So maybe it bring a prequel could potentially do that. Maybe I'm just being a little too speculative, though.
I mean, either way, be a prequel, but I personally think that's improbable just because the fact that Ganon has already been shown to exist in the game, and they make it a big deal out of it in the first game, and if he's in this game and it's a prequel, that kind of ruins the whole plot.
That's fair.
Of the original game.
That's fair. But going to what you said, though, the more probable idea is time travel, which we've already seen in Zelda before. That's not anything new. Ocarina of Time, of course. And Majora's Mask. Yeah.
The game title is The Legend of Zelda: Link Goes Back in Time.
Link's Time Machine. Zelda is missing. Yeah, I think time travel is a pretty big possibility. I mean, we're seeing Link do weird stuff that physically should not be possible in the trailer, like him morphing through the landmass in the sky. So that's definitely a possibility.
More futuristic tech and stuff. Link to the future. That's what this game's gonna be called.
Yeah, Link to the future. But in the new clips, we actually see. So we could kind of see this in the last trailers, but this time we got a really good look at it. His arm.
Yeah.
I know you're not a Xenoblade person, Caleb, but this man has a Xenoblade Monado Arm. Straight up. It has like some Japanese kanji on it. I don't think it's actually Japanese, but that's what it looks like.
The Zelda language.
Yeah. So I mean, in the first trailer, maybe in the second trailer actually, second trailer, we see him doing stuff. Like there's a shot in the second trailer where some moblins like push down a boulder or something, and he pushes it back at them with his arm. Maybe. Oh, wait a second, bro. He made that thing go back in time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's time travel. Now, I'm sure that's like a known thing. I just put the pieces together in my head. Yeah, he can control time on certain objects in the world. Why not control it on himself? Okay. All right, discussion over. We know it's time travel.
Yeah, all right, great. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I think that's definitely what we're seeing here then.
Yeah. As far as the actual game, though, I don't think this delay really changes anything.
Oh no, not at all.
Because I mean, I wasn't. The thing is, I said like this game is either going to come out in November or next year. There's no in between. Like,
yeah, there was never going to be an in between. And honestly, I know I was acting pretty confident in my video saying, "Oh, it's going to come out this year," even though I fully prefaced it with it could come out in March. That'd be the 5-year anniversary of Breath of the Wild and all that. I would not be surprised if the game actually was ready this year. But Nintendo does have a lot of other games. So I feel like maybe they were just like, you know what? Take your time. Let it cook. I know they probably don't care about accolades, but they wanted to have one game of the year if it came out this year. So maybe they're just like, you know what? Our March. And I know this is kind of an entirely different subject, and I'm not going to make a full video on it unless something happens, because I am sick of hearing people talk about it. With it but probably releasing on March 3rd, 2022, Caleb, do you think there is any glimmer of a chance there's some new hardware at play here? And that could be why they also delayed it.
I would not be surprised.
I
guess I kind of would be surprised, but I wouldn't be that surprised. It probably wouldn't. I mean, if it was like a Switch Pro, which obviously that's what we're all talking about, right?
I don't think it is, though. I think it'll be something else. But I do think there will be new hardware.
Think so?
Maybe we'll finally get like the Switch docked version that can potentially upscale or, you know, and have better frame rates, which I guess would kind of be a Switch Pro at that point. I do not think we're going to get a Switch Pro that is simply like, oh, it's the OLED Switch, but even better. I don't think that's going to happen. But a dock-only Switch, or even I've been saying like a Switch Lite OLED, something new hardware related in that time frame would make sense. At that point, the OLED would be, a year and a half old, so it would be about the right time. And Nintendo is known for delaying hardware, or delaying Zelda games for hardware releases, so it would not be the first time they've done that.
Yeah. I mean, as far and also you said this game was probably ready. That's like the same thing that happened to the first game. No doubt. The only reason that they delayed the first game was so that the Switch could come out.
Dude, can you imagine had they not done that? They're like, all right, Breath of the Wild's out in October for Wii U. In March, it's gonna come in the Switch. Dude, that would have been a disaster. That low key might have killed the Switch. Like, actually, that would have been really funny. Was there anything else in the? I guess we should talk about this. I don't really have much to say about it because I don't know anything. I'm not a Zelda lore expert. I'm pretty sure in that image that you mentioned of the ancient hero, we kind of see this, and I mean, this trailer basically confirmed that Link is that ancient hero with the broken Master Sword.
I don't think that was in the image.
Was it not? Okay.
No, not broken.
Okay, well, I guess let's talk about the broken Master Sword. What do you think is going on here? Do you think maybe it's some time thing where he's like using time to fix it? I don't know.
The thing is, there's not really a precedent for this specific version, but I will say this, because this would be the latest game in the timeline, like lore-wise.
Oh yeah, because Breath of the Wild was after everything.
Yeah. Obviously, the Master Sword was originally like was the Skyward Sword or something, right? Or the Goddess Sword, right? And then they transformed it into the Master Sword in that game. And then, like in A Link to the Past and stuff, you can upgrade it. But in Breath of the Wild, it was just normal. So there wasn't really, besides making the Master Sword like stronger, there's not really precedent for changing it that much. So I'm not really sure what this could be. I assume this has to do with his power that he got. So
yeah,
that's all I can really say about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to speculate exactly what's going on here. I will say, you and I were talking, I think last night, about all the Zelda stuff, and we were saying like, oh, what they should change about Breath of the Wild. There are 3 major things, I think. The first thing I want to talk about is durability, and this kind of goes into the Master Sword being broken. Durability has to be on in this game, and if it's not, they have to completely redo it. I think I didn't really mind it, to be honest. I didn't really mind the durability, but it is clearly the main complaint people have with this game.
Now, here's what I think about durability. There's also one more complaint that I want to get to.
Yeah, we'll get to the other 2 main ones for sure.
Yeah, but for right now, the biggest one, the durability. For me, it was annoying. Just because, like, literally everything broke, even the Master Sword, which technically it needs to recharge or whatever, but it broke, basically.
Yeah.
I wish that there was at least like one of each type in the game that didn't break.
Yeah.
Even if they're not the most powerful weapons in the game, like the Master Sword is not the strongest weapon in the game, but if you made it so that it didn't break, I would like that more.
Yeah, have to recharge.
Right, and same thing with like a bow or like the Hylian shield. Like that shouldn't be able to break.
Shields, maybe. I maybe could see shields, but like bow and arrows, absolutely not.
I think there should be like one, like I said, just one of each type in the game that shouldn't break, but the rest of them can. That's fine.
Well,
and also for the rest of them, just make like double the durability or something.
Right,
because they're too weak.
Well, see, here's the issue. Breath of the Wild is renowned for its open air gameplay, as they describe it. You can do anything however you want to do it. It's going to be really tricky for them to mess with that formula, because they cannot mess with that formula. That's why the Divine Beasts were so underwhelming, which was the second complaint.
Yeah.
I hope this game has more progression in terms of items. That is the main key Zelda element that was missing from Breath of the Wild. There was no dungeon-specific items, or even items that truly felt like you were progressing. You could get a
like
super...
No hook shot, no Pegasus boots, nothing like that.
Right.
It's basically just upgrading the Sheikah Slate powers.
Right. So I'm thinking maybe one way they might be looking at this in terms of adding that back, adding that feeling of getting better items or better upgraded items, is maybe this Master Sword can be upgraded throughout the journey. We haven't really seen that in Zelda before, where like a singular item gets upgrades. But I don't know. I could see like maybe like throughout the game you're like restoring it, and like you have all these dungeons, and when you defeat a dungeon you get a specific ability for your sword. That way you get a specific dungeon ability, but you don't have to do them in a specific order. I don't know if that makes sense. Just something like that. They could also do something like that with the arm, which I assume is basically replacing the Sheikah Slate. Maybe spread those out a little bit more. Like in Breath of the Wild 1, you got all the abilities on the plateau. So maybe spread out the arm abilities. Spread everything out so that throughout the game you're getting truly new abilities. What do you think?
Yeah. I personally would like just items to come back. That'd be cool.
But how do you do that without being linear?
Well,
I guess
that's the problem.
I guess you could just have it so that the overworld, there are certain parts where you just can't do the puzzle. Like if there's a Korok seed that needs the hook shot, you just can't do it. Come back later. And then, I mean, that could even add like a whole other dynamic. I think Elden Ring kind of does this too, where like, okay, you put a marker on the map and then you come back later and do it when you have the right item or right quest item, you know, that kind of thing. And then each dungeon could be truly designed around that item. That way it won't really break, like, sequence.
Now, that's true, but there's also one thing. Now, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but, like, I think Breath of the Wild might have been too open. Because you can go straight to the final boss, and I think that's, like, it's cool that you can do that.
I don't think they're going to do that in this game.
But what's the point of doing that?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to. I think that was a marketing thing for the first game. And it worked. It definitely worked. I don't think they're going to do that in this game, especially if we're talking about like time travel. This is obviously Breath of the Wild's plot was in the past. This game is not, seemingly. Maybe literally, but it's not, you know, you're not living it through flashbacks. You are living in the moment as Link doing these things, so they kind of can't do that, I feel like.
Yeah, and a lot of the reason why the story was criticized so heavily is because you're not doing anything. Because, like, you can't have a cohesive story and, like, no limits on the overworld at all, basically.
Yeah.
Because then, at that point, it's like, you're kind of bypassing everything.
Yeah. So, they need to keep the open world open to an extent. I do think the final boss will not be accessible until the end of the game. I think, because that's a lot, I see a lot of people that say that, like, they played the game, they did all the shrines, and then they never even did the final boss because they were like, well, I did everything. It's like, what's the final boss of Breath of the Wild is not good. It is not a key moment in that game. It is not a highlight of that game, which is an issue because that is usually a highlight in a Zelda game.
And it's actually made even worse when you actually do everything.
Yeah, it makes it easier, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, if you're dedicated to Zelda, you want a challenge, you're going to want to fight it as hard as possible. You want a boss rush, basically.
Yeah. Like, making it easier by, you know, gaining experience and upgrading your weapons and health and all that, that's different. But, like, just making it easier because you beat things is kind of dumb.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we kind of touched on the Divine Beasts a little bit already with, like, they should add specific dungeon items. I hope there is at least double the dungeons in this game. There's only 4 divine beasts. I think that is laughable, especially when they are all shorter than a regular dungeon.
Yeah, that's the thing that I didn't understand. Like, the divine beasts, it's like, sure, it's like you can do them in any order, but like, why were they so short, and why were they all the same? Yeah, that seems kind of weird.
I mean, not to talk about Elden Ring, I haven't played too much of that game. I put like 15 hours into it. I do wonder if maybe the Zelda team was already ahead of the curve. Maybe they were already kind of like thinking, okay, this is how we should design our game. Elden Ring doesn't have shrines or, stuff like that. It has natural places in the world where you will find a new boss, a new area that is completely optional. Maybe instead of having, they're probably going to have shrines. Let's be realistic. They're going to be shrines or an equivalent. But maybe instead of that, you just wander upon a cave, and there's a cool boss down there, unique, like Bokoblin or something, maybe not too crazy, that has like a health bar, and then you get maybe not a unique item, but a good item, or I don't know, maybe like a heart piece. If they get rid of the shrines, like orbs, whatever they're called, the spirit orbs. I think a open world design catering more towards Elden Ring, frankly, would be better. I like the shrines. I know you're not as positive on them as I am. I think they're fine. I don't think I want that again, personally. Especially since it's been in development for 6 years.
My main problem with the shrines is that a lot of them were the same. Like,
a major test of strength 8 times.
Yeah. Well, there was the major test of strength, then there was the moderate and like the minor test of strength. Those were all identical, and it took like a third of all the shrines. And then there was like another 20 of them that you just walked up to it and they gave you the thing.
Yeah, usually those involved like an overworld puzzle, but I get what
usually, but there was a few of them you could just walk in.
Yeah. They definitely padded it out to be like, we have 120.
Like less than half of them are actual puzzles.
Yeah. So. I think a more Elden Ring approach to the world design would be a good thing here, which honestly I wouldn't be surprised since we have the sky and maybe even some underground stuff, or like you said, maybe underwater. So yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Caleb, before we end off here? I don't want to go on for too long.
I just
the rain.
Find it kind of...
Yeah, we didn't talk about rain, Caleb.
It's not that big of a deal, but I just wish there was like...
They have to do something about that.
The climbing gear should have made it so that you can climb in the rain instead of just making you climb faster.
Yes. I would also even be okay with if they didn't exactly do it like this, but maybe if you could get like items and equip them to Link, like to his clothes. So like you can have your cosmetic gear that you like and then put like an item on him that makes him so he's like resistant to rain or something. I don't know. Something like that. What were you going to say, though, before I interrupted you?
Yeah, the other thing was that this game has taken the longest of any Zelda game to develop, which is kind of funny, because the first game, the reason it took so long to develop was because they were making the engine and because of the map. Both of those are being reused, as well as the graphics. So, like, why is this game taking so long to make? It had better be, like, the biggest Zelda game ever.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
I mean, I think when talking about this, people are going to bring up COVID, and I think that was an excuse for 6 months of its development, maybe even a year. Certainly not an excuse anymore. So certainly not an excuse when they gave this game a 2022 release window. I don't think so. I was talking to someone, they were like, we don't even know for exactly when this game started development. It might not have started development until 2019 when they showed the trailer. It started development in 2018. There is no doubt in my mind that this game, maybe even 2017, because they worked on the DLC, but
this is literally what they said was, originally we were just gonna make more DLC, but instead we turned it into a new game.
Which means it started in 2018.
It started after they finished that last DLC.
Yes, which came out in December, but means latest they started it was like January, back in the office, New Year, 2018. That is the latest they started this game. So we're already at the full, we're past the 4-year mark. People act like Breath of the Wild took forever, and it did, but from announcement to release, bro, it was only 3 years, which feels crazy. I remember that wait feeling way worse, but we're already past that point with this game, which is kind of disgusting. But granted, the last 2 years don't even count in my brain as real years. So, yeah. Caleb, do you have any final thoughts here before we close off on Breath of the Wild 2?
No, not much. I just hope the game's good, and
It will be.
I kind of want to see a special edition. That'd be cool.
Oh, yes, dude. I hope they do another, maybe not 2 special editions like they did for Breath of the Wild, but
Yeah, that was kind
something
of
nice.
weird, but
Give me that
yeah.
broken Master Sword on like on a pedestal. That'd be cool. Give me that Master Edition. It'd be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, similar to you, I think the game's going to be great. I want to see what it is that is making it take so long. I want to see why they're waiting so long to really show us the new mechanics and all that. But yeah, let us know what you guys think of Breath of the Wild 2 down in the comments below. How are you feeling about the delay? And if you enjoyed this discussion, of course, subscribe for more Nintendo content. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksMedia. Of course, you can follow Caleb at Caleb_Bravo99 on Twitter. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.
See it.